Hey everyone, name Mark here, and it's time to go over episode 18 of Kamen Rider Gavv. Really good episode. This episode is delayed by a day because internet issues of uploading it, and then also just computer shit, stuff. And I've been spending a lot of my time hounding FedEx because I have a missing package again, and that's always fun. But episode 18 of Gavv was a really good episode. More lore and character driven stuff. It did begin with the fight from the end of the episode. Usually I'll be like, oh man, I already seen this, but no. The way Vram beat the brakes off of both Valen and Gavv, I was like, no, I'm not skipping this. I'm not fast forwarding to the OP. I'm gonna watch this fight again because it is really freaking good. I like Logging 9 being just so lazy and not wanting to overexert himself. But the cool thing about this episode is we kind of got some sprinkling of the motivation of Logging 9 and where he kind of stands. I did enjoy that Suga and Nail were in his little era, in Suga's little, I guess, office with Logging 9 chilling there. And he's all happy looking at the driver. And he's like, you built this yourself? And he's like, yeah, studying, your stuff and this and that. And he's like, oh, you made even the little gimmick thing. And it was an interesting scene. I was laughing because Suga's so intrigued by the Granoots that he just goes and is like, mind if I check out? And he just lifts up Lage 9's shirt and pulls his little human gimmick out and then puts it back in. He's like, oh, so that's how you turn into humans. And he's like poking his cheek and he's like, very entertained by this. The cool thing is Suga, and this kind of is the dynamic that he has with Nell, because he literally was like, oh, I've never gotten to study a Granoot up close. And he's like, well, I'm a Granoot now. He's like, no, I see you as a fellow scientist. And I was like, okay, so we're getting little trickles of what their dynamic actually is. And at the same time, Logging 9 just being so unenthusiastic and kind of just not wanting to be a part of this. So it's almost like, he's just putting on the not the smile, because he doesn't smile, but he's just putting on that facade. Even when they're leaving, Nelv has him, I was like, hey, can you take out Valen and Gavv? And he's like, I'll go take him out. And he's like, yeah, if you can. And I'm like, man, I see that as a motivational tactic to kind of get Lion 9 to be like, all right, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to beat the brakes off these guys a second time. A lot of their stuff, the main thing I got was more. I cannot wait because this is going to happen. We know it's going to happen. The dynamic between Shoma and Hanto, when Hanto is just like, he knew that he was with Nelv, because Nelv shows up during their fight and leaves with him, and he's like, him? Is he a part of Stomach family? And Shoma finally gives in and kind of gives him the breakdown of the 5 siblings, and then Hanto's even like, damn, we only beat 1, there's still 4 more left. And then he kind of asks him about why is he holding out the information, and Shoma gives him more of the Granoot dimension, so to speak, and then how he doesn't remember how he escaped. And I love whenever Shoma is trying to make an excuse and he's not fast enough, Hanto kind of gives it for him. He's like, oh, you just didn't want to tell me all this other stuff, so we can't go over there because you want us to technically stop more humans from being taken. And I'm like, Hanto's over here giving Shoma this because Shoma's not a good liar. He's not good on his feet. He's the type of person who, he doesn't lie. He just withholds certain elements of the story. So he technically isn't lying to Hanto. He's just not telling him everything. And I like that Hanto kind of keeps giving him an out by kind of finishing in his own statements. So whenever this happens and it comes out that Shoma is part Granoot, that's just going to be... that's going to be good. And I feel like that's going to happen rather soon. I don't think it's going to be dragged out a long time because nothing's really being dragged out in the show. The pacing is really good. The way we're getting the information and different elements of what's going on and all the different characters, we haven't seen Grota or was it Longo in technically in a couple episodes, like fully, we've seen little trickles and flashbacks and like quick little but we haven't had anything story related with them since Jeeb and Sheba basically got beat down by Gavv. And this there's certain elements that I'm really enjoying how they're doing with the previous forms. So for some odd reason, when they like, and oh wait, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't take notes. I do, but I don't. Not like in depth. I don't script anything. There was a scene where basically Hanto made the worst drawing ever of the human form of our bird Granute with the scarf and put it on social media. And so we had all these scenes where basically people were seeing our Granute and instantly just leaving or running away before anything could happen, which frustrated them. And they went to Log 9 about it. And they're like, I need our treats. And they start going on this tirade of how addicting they are and they need them. They need more humans. They're not going to get any. And it triggered a flashback for Log 9 in his Granute form with another Granute who I'm assuming was probably a younger sibling, maybe. It was such a quick scene. I don't know if it could have been a love interest, but like I'm gonna assume it's a younger sibling. Basically parroting like what our bird Granite was saying about being addicted to it, and I was kind of just like, okay. And when other things happen later on, like there's a part during the fight, and I'll jump ahead and I'll talk about it like after. But there was when Valen and just Vram were fighting, and he's like, "Are you part of the Stomach family too?" And he kind of got like offended that you would think that, and he's like, I'm not a part of that family. And I was just like, I read all the theories online of what people have, and I read a lot of I watch a lot of other people's review videos after I do mine, just because I'm curious what everyone else thought. But I don't like to watch them before I do mine, because I don't want it to like sway my opinion of things or how I perceive the show. And a lot of people were like, oh, maybe Log 9's like undercover to take down the Stomach family or this and that. And now I'm just like, those theories I could have seen happening, but then after this episode, I was like, he's on revenge too. So now we have, and I feel like that's how we're going to get the trio of them on the same page, because Hanto's on a thing for revenge. Shoma, technically, less revenge, more trying to protect and stop them. And now we have Ram, who I'm going to assume is possibly motivated by revenge. The downside is, well, not the downside, the roadblock is going to be Hanto finding out Shoma's part Granute, and then also coming to terms with Ram being a Granute and how exactly he's going to get over that, because he's been adamant. It's been documented in the episodes. When Shoma even asked him, he's like, no, there are no good Granutes. There aren't, like, every Granute was bad. So I'm like, okay. And you can kind of tell that's where we're going to get some character development and growth, because Hanto's going to have to play ball. And speaking of, because I jumped ahead, the fight, right? So we had our bird Granute and Vram versus Valen and Gavv. Why Gavv went after the bird Granute and left Valen to 1v1 Vram when we know Valen is not consistent with his 1v1s. I think he's like, what, 1 in like 5, 1 in 6 right now. He gets his ass beat every time, and that was no different here. The fighting is so good, by the way. And I did enjoy that, like bringing back the other forms, Gavv fighting the bird Granute, and him using Full Malo to kind of bounce around and try and catch the bird while he's flying, which then led to him using Zaku Zaku chips and not being too successful, but them still finding new ways to utilize the suits for the fighting. And then leading ultimately to him using caking form, which I'm curious how long this form is going to last, because the Gochizo doesn't die. And my theory was, because there are pieces of cake, after X amount of uses, each cake would eventually disappear. But that doesn't seem to be the case. It's just the only thing we really know is it uses up a lot of his energy and he gets tired after. So I'm still curious, because the power scaling has been balanced really well when you think about the fact that, okay, he only used the caking form now because he could use his little whip sword squirter. I don't know why I said squirter. I shouldn't have said that. to kind of get the bird granite out of the air. It wasn't a power situation, because if it was more or less to counteract abilities, because the granite wasn't really that much stronger than other ones. It's just he couldn't catch them. So I was like, all right, I like that we don't need, you know, the new Granules who aren't upgraded like Login 9, like the regular Granules. It's just they aren't more powerful. It's just, hey, he needs it for the abilities. Because I was wondering how we're gonna handle that stuff. The Vram Valen fight was just, oh my god. I feel for this man. Like he Valen has been dehensioned via fights almost every fight he's been in, and I'm just like, this man, he's just catching the L's, but he's such a good character though on the show. So it's like not one of those things where I'm like, man, he's being poorly utilized, this and that. It's like, no, he's just in over his head. Maybe we shouldn't let Valen fight the harder people 1v1. He doesn't have the abilities. He's not up there yet. He's not the guy for it. And I'm, of course, I left on the cliffhanger again with Valen being taken down. So I was like, well, all right. I like, there's a lot of, like, I bring it up and I feel like it's almost annoying from probably your perspective that I keep bringing up how the show is balanced with its action, its story, and all characters and the moving parts. And even we're 18 episodes in, and I don't have anything bad to say about the show. I really don't. And let me remind everybody, if you go back to my very poor quality videos when I first started all this talking about Saber, I can find the positives in any show. I can find a reason to like any show, as long as it's not Godchard. Just throwing it out there. There's a reason why those review videos stopped, and I ended up binging the whole entire show recently, and I'm still sticking to my ground that, like, for me personally, I did not like that show. It was very tough to find a lot of positives in it after a while, and I wasn't gonna fake the positivity, and but at the same time, I don't want to make content where I'm talking negatively about stuff. I'd rather talk about stuff I like toys and the shows and comics and everything else on this channel. But yeah, we're 18 episodes in, and I don't have really anything negative to say. I don't think any plot points are being dragged out. I think a lot of stuff is being built up for a payoff, which I'm looking forward to. And yeah, that's it. I really enjoyed this episode. It was a good episode. Once again, I did not check out the preview for next week. I know people were talking about it. Someone was like, "Hey, like, did you see what's gonna happen next week?" It's like, no, I don't include what's in the previews on these things. I just don't feel the need to. But that's it for episode 18 of Kamen Rider Gavv. Let me know what you guys think. I'm also thinking, like, where's I may have slipped past this in an episode and not noticed, but where's like the donut form again from Valen? Like, I know he did the Bushiel form last episode, but I'm like, he doesn't have a lot of forms, so I'm like, hey, like, maybe the donut form would have helped him. Like, he could have trapped Vram in a donut. I don't know. I'm curious, like, for more Valen forms. And I know we're probably getting the Chocolate form for Gavv at some point soon, because the toy just came out for that, and I'm just curious what other forms we're gonna get. Cause like in recent years, we've been getting like forms like every other episode. So I'm intrigued of when we're gonna get more forms, if we get more forms, just because the episodes, even though I think last episode Shoma was writing more food in his book stuff, it's like they haven't really been putting, any of that stuff in where Shoma's trying new snacks and in his little snack journal. Like, I actually like that element of the show, so I'm hoping that pops back in soon. Just a quick little thought that was in my head. But that's it for my review. I thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I just hit 1,400 subscribers, which is amazing for me. Like, I appreciate it. I that was my goal for 2024. Was to hit 1,400. I hit it a week after the year started, so you know, that's really cool. I have another goal for myself for this year. I don't usually put what goals I have out there because then it puts that added pressure on me. I just kind of be like, hey, it'd be cool if I hit this. That's what I'm aiming for. So I got another goal for this year. I got some other content. I'm working on a lot of stuff actually because yeah, there'll be a video going over all the other toku things that I have planned. It's just finding time. I'm making intro stuff right now. Like I'm actually going to be doing a lot of editing. But that's it. I thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.